When FBI agent Peter Strzok sent disparaging text messages about Donald Trump in the months before the U.S. election, he says he didn't think that they would become public. But they did. And now President Trump's Republican allies in Congress are holding them up as proof that Strzok and the FBI are biased against the president. They grilled Strzok on Thursday, nearly 10 hours of no-holds-barred shouting and recriminations. And there could be more where that came from.
Predicating information, the information we had, which was alleging a Russian offer of assistance to a member of the Trump campaign, was of extraordinary significance. It was credible. It was from an extraordinarily sensitive and credible source. And as we looked at what that represented, the key time was obviously coming into the election. But the urgency for us to understand what was going on in advance of the election, and certainly in advance of any inauguration, I can't overstate the importance of that.
All right, let's talk about this with political analyst Peter Mathews. He's in Los Angeles. He teaches political science at Cypress College. Peter, Donald Trump and his allies have been saying for months that Agent Strzok has poisoned the FBI's entire Russia investigation. Now we got to watch and listen to the man himself, the infamous Agent Strzok. The whole country got to watch him. What did you make of him and his testimony?
He made a spirited defense of his integrity, but here's the thing. Those text messages were, they actually revealed that he was biased and politically against President Trump. But on the other hand, they had credible evidence that the Russians were offering help to the Trump campaign. And he took the counterintelligence lead on that because that was his expertise. So the fact is he was one person. You can't taint the entire investigation as being a witch hunt or as being biased because of one person who had text messages going out. I think it's a diversion to some extent from the president's people and the Republicans in Congress to say that this whole investigation of Mr. Mueller is tainted because of that one person and of some of those things that was put out publicly today. But it was very interesting to see the spirited defense that he had. He came out swinging. He didn't kowtow or become humble about what he did or what he said. And it was very, by the way, when that congressman, went after him for being unfaithful to his wife.
Right.
That was subpar and below the belt. It was very bad all around.
Yeah, and that drew some shouts and some recriminations from the other side of the aisle. You say you can't actually paint the whole Mueller investigation with a broad brush, yet that is exactly what Mr. Trump supporters are doing. Listen to the president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, reacting to the Strzok hearing.
To this day, we don't know the taint that he created in that investigation since he started it. That's the investigation we're dealing with right now, with a bunch of people who had the same political views he has.
So it is exactly what you were saying. It is this argument that the whole investigation may be biased because of Peter Strzok. There is actually some evidence, Peter, if you look at poll numbers, that this argument is working on the American public.
Because of the way it's being put out there by the Republican side, and especially those who want to taint the investigation. And don't forget, Mr. Mueller himself was a lifelong Republican. This wasn't just a Democratic witch hunt, as the president's trying to put out. I think he's trying to deflect the attention from the real investigation. Why not let the investigation go forward? And the fact is that Mr. Strzok was actually purged from the investigation. He was dismissed from it when it was found out that he was biased in that sense, that he expressed it. He shouldn't have expressed that on text message even, being an investigator. That's not a good thing to do. That was a mistake, I think he's admitted. So I think that we should let the investigation go forward and find out where the Trump campaign might have been in any way aided by any foreign sources or even colluded in any way. That has to be found out because this goes to the core of our democracy. Does the United States get to choose its own elected officials without outside interference or not? And this has to be found out. It's being worked on very well with Mr. Mueller and his team right now.
Well, look, that was going to be my question. Where does this leave us in terms of the wider picture of the Russia investigation?
Well, I think that's continuing to go on. I mean, you have the investigation headed by Mr. Mueller still. He's talked to many, many people. Several of the Trump campaign people were already pleaded guilty to crimes. There's a lot of evidence that this investigation is going deeper and deeper, and I think it won't be too long before Mr. Mueller finds out what actually happened. And there has to be the truth told because it goes to the core of our democracy and the rule of law principle that the law has to take its course. And that's why I don't like the fact that Trump and his associates keep on interfering with the comments that they're making, interfering with a legitimate investigation that was carefully put together by the way it was supposed to constitutionally.
Yeah, and the Mueller camp floated the idea that they may put out a report, and they may do so sometime around September, well ahead of the November midterm elections. Peter Mathews, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Cyril.